All right, so today we're going to try and tackle a pretty massive topic, the life and activities of Bill Gates. And we have a lot of sources here, everything from like full-blown biographies to, analyses of his vast impact and influence. We're even going to be looking at like his Wikipedia entry.
Oh, wow.
Which is surprisingly detailed. I mean, it's pretty incredible. But yeah, I mean, our mission today is to really kind of extract the most important and intriguing, kind of nuggets from all this material for you guys listening. Give you some of those like aha moments,
right? And
a real understanding of his journey, and influence. So I think a good place to start would be like at the beginning with his early life and education. I mean, William Henry Gates III was born in Seattle in October of 1955.
Okay.
And from the get-go, it seems like his family background was pretty influential.
Yeah, it's fascinating right from the start how his family environment, really shaped his trajectory. I mean, his father, William H. Gates Sr., was a prominent lawyer. That likely instilled a certain strategic and analytical approach.
Yeah, absolutely,
And his mother, Mary Maxwell Gates, she served on the boards of, major organizations.
Oh, wow.
Like First Interstate Bank System and the United Way.
Right, yeah.
And that suggests a strong connection to the broader community and an understanding of how, large institutions function.
Yeah.
Plus, with his maternal grandfather being a national bank president.
Wow.
There's clearly a lineage of engagement with, significant establishments.
Right.
For you, it highlights that success often has roots in early exposure and influence.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And, he had siblings as well.
Okay.
An older sister, Christy, and a younger sister, Libby. And interestingly, he was known as William Gates III, or even Trey.
Trey.
It's those personal touches that make a historical figure feel a little more real, don't they?
For sure.
And it also sounds like competition was a pretty significant aspect of his upbringing.
Indeed, the sources really emphasize that his family fostered a competitive spirit,
right?
Whether through games or other activities. This early exposure to striving to excel, likely played a crucial role in the drive and ambition he later displayed in the business world. Think about it. That inherent desire to win can be a powerful motivator.
Yeah, absolutely. So then at age 13, he enrolled in the private Lakeside Prep School.
Okay.
Which appears to have been a real turning point for him.
Okay.
Especially with the Mothers Club, purchasing the Teletype Model 33 ASR terminal.
Wow.
I mean, that almost feels like a pivotal moment, doesn't it?
It truly does. That single act, the investment in that early form of computer terminal and the accompanying computer time sparked what became a lifelong passion.
Right.
He was immediately drawn to programming the GE system in BASIC.
Yeah.
And for those of you less familiar, BASIC was a relatively simple programming language that allowed individuals to, give instructions directly to the computer. His fascination grew so quickly that he was even excused from math classes to dedicate more time to it.
Okay.
That level of early, intense focus is a key indicator of his future path.
Yeah. And on that machine, he wrote his first computer program, a tic-tac-toe game.
Wow.
As simple as it sounds today, it must have been so incredibly exciting at that age to see, his code bring a game to life.
Precisely. Yeah. And, his interest wasn't just in writing the lines of code, but in the logical precision, how the machine would flawlessly execute those instructions. Yeah. That inherent logic and predictability of computers clearly resonated with him deeply.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't all straightforward learning, was it?
Okay.
There's this mention of him and his friends, including Paul Allen, Rick Weiland, and Kent Evans.
Okay.
Shall we say creatively exploiting bugs at Computer Center Corporation to get free computer time.
Okay.
This led to his summer ban. Sounds like a bit of youthful rebellion.
Yeah.
Fueled by a deep curiosity.
Exactly. They were certainly pushing the limits.
Yeah.
But it also demonstrated a natural talent for understanding how these early systems worked.
Yeah.
Or more accurately, where their weaknesses lay.
Right.
Even the band didn't deter them for long.
Okay.
They formed the Lakeside Programmers Club, not just for the learning, but to actually earn money.
Wow.
And then they even proposed finding more errors in CCC's software in exchange for even more precious computer time. It's a clever example of turning a setback into an opportunity, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, talk about resourceful.
Yeah.
And then he went on to automate Lakeside School's class scheduling system.
Oh, wow.
With Kent Evans.
Okay.
That's a pretty significant and practical project for a high school student.
Right.
It's a real shame that Evans passed away.
It was indeed a significant loss for Gates.
Yeah.
He's spoken of it as a profoundly sad period in his life.
Yeah.
But he then collaborated with Paul Allen to complete the system.
Right.
This early partnership, forged in those high school years over real-world projects, was clearly foundational for their future.
Yeah, and even before graduating high school at 17, he formed Trafo Data with Allen to create traffic counters.
Wow.
You know, that really underscores this kind of entrepreneurial spirit emerging at a very young age. They saw a problem and thought, we can build something to solve that.
Absolutely. They were identifying a real-world need. Better data on it's evident he was constantly pushing his intellectual boundaries.
Yeah, and it was at Harvard, of course, where he met Steve Ballmer.
Right.
Another name that would become absolutely synonymous with Microsoft.
Their meeting at Harvard was another one of those pivotal moments in history.
Right.
While their personalities were quite different. Gates more introverted and intensely focused.
Right.
Ballmer more energetic and outgoing.
Yeah.
They formed a powerful bond that would ultimately have a monumental impact on the technology industry.
Yeah. There's also mention of him devising an algorithm for pancake sorting.
Pancake sorting.
And apparently held a record for over 30 years.
Wow.
I mean, pancake sorting, it sounds so simple, but clearly it's...
It might sound like a whimsical problem,
yeah,
but it actually speaks to his deep understanding of computer science and his ability to devise efficient solutions to complex algorithmic challenges.
Right.
The fact that his method for optimally sorting a disordered stack of pancakes remained the fastest for so long really highlights its ingenuity.
Wow.
And he even collaborated with Harvard computer scientist Christos Papadimitriou to formalize and publish his findings. That's a serious academic contribution, even if it's about pancakes.
Right. Yeah. So he had this incredibly promising academic start. But his path took a pretty significant turn. When he and Paul Allen recognized the immense potential of the MIT's Altair 8800.
Right.
He ultimately dropped out of Harvard in 1975.
Wow.
That must have been a huge decision, leaving behind that Ivy League path.
It was undoubtedly a calculated risk driven by a powerful conviction.
Yeah.
He recognized that the release of the Altair 8800 signaled a fundamental shift, the dawn of personal computing.
Yeah.
And he had a strong belief in the potential for software to be a major driving force in this new era.
Right.
His parents notably were supportive of his decision once they understood his passion and the potential he saw. As he famously put it, he figured he could always go back to school if things didn't pan out.
Right. And as we know, things definitely did pan out.
They did.
Inspired by that January 1975 issue of Popular Electronics, featuring the Altair 8800, he boldly contacted Emites about working on a BASIC interpreter.
Wow.
Even though they hadn't actually started on one yet.
He didn't.
That takes a certain level of confidence, to put it mildly.
It was a remarkably audacious move bordering on visionary.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah.
They dedicated themselves to developing an Altair emulator, essentially a software simulation of the Altair on a different computer, and the BASIC interpreter itself in a matter of weeks.
Wow.
This led directly to that crucial deal with Emites for Altair BASIC, which was the very foundation upon which the entire Microsoft empire would eventually be built.
Right. So he took a leave of absence from Harvard in November of 1975 to work alongside Allen at Emites in Albuquerque. And their fledgling partnership was initially called Microsoft.
Microsoft.
I almost forgot the hyphen.
Oh, wow.
Their first employee was Rick Weiland. Bringing it full circle back to their early days at Lakeside.
That early collaboration with Weiland really underscores the lasting impact of those formative high school connections. And within a year, they simplified the name, dropping the hyphen, and officially registering the trade name Microsoft.
Right. Microsoft.
And as history shows, Gates never did return to Harvard to complete his degree.
Right. There's that famous An Open Letter to Hobbyists that Gates penned in 1976, addressing the issue of software piracy.
Right.
That was a pretty strong and early stance to take on protecting intellectual property in this burgeoning field.
It was a controversial but ultimately pivotal declaration.
Yep.
He was essentially arguing for the inherent value of software and the necessity for developers to be fairly compensated for their creative work. While not universally popular among early computer enthusiasts who were used to freely sharing software, it laid an important precedent for the future of the software industry.
Absolutely. Microsoft became independent of Emites in late 1976. And then made the move to Bellevue, Washington in 1979, bringing them closer to their roots in the Seattle area.
Right.
And apparently in those very early years, Gates himself personally reviewed and often rewrote every single line of code.
Really?
An incredible level of dedication and technical mastery.
It truly speaks volumes about his deep technical expertise and his meticulous nature in those early crucial stages of the company.
Right.
He wasn't just a manager in name. He was deeply immersed in the actual creation of the software.
Right.
As Microsoft experienced rapid growth, he naturally transitioned into more managerial and executive roles. But that foundational hands-on experience undoubtedly shaped the quality and direction of their early products.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to what was arguably a real game changer.
The
IBM partnership.
Right.
In 1980, IBM, the undisputed giant of the computing world at the time, approached Microsoft for software for their upcoming personal computer. And it's interesting to note that apparently his mother played a role in making that initial connection.
That's right. Mary Maxwell Gates, leveraging her position and network, actually mentioned Microsoft to John Opel, who was IBM's CEO at the time. It serves as a reminder that in the business world, personal connections and relationships can often be just as significant as pure technical prowess. Initially, IBM was primarily interested in licensing Microsoft's BASIC interpreter.
And Gates, in a fascinating turn of events, initially referred IBM to digital research for the crucial operating system. When that didn't work out, Microsoft stepped in with a proposal to use 86 dues from Seattle Computer Products. It's almost like a lucky break that digital research wasn't able to finalize a deal.
What's truly fascinating here isn't just luck. But Gates's strategic agility. He didn't actually possess a readily available operating system at the time. But he recognized a significant opportunity. Microsoft quickly became the exclusive licensing agent and then the outright owner of 86DOS, hiring Tim Patterson, the original developer, to adapt it for the IBM PC. This adapted version, of course, became PC-DOS.
And here's what seems like an absolutely pivotal decision.
Okay.
Microsoft sold PC-DOS to IBM for a one-time fee of only $50,000.
Wow.
Now, on the surface, that might seem like a small sum,
Yeah.
but crucially, Microsoft retained the copyright.
Okay.
That seems like an incredibly prescient move.
It was absolutely a stroke of strategic brilliance.
Yeah.
Gates and Microsoft foresaw that other manufacturers would inevitably begin creating their own IBM-compatible personal computers
Right.
by retaining the copyright to MS-DOS.
Yeah.
The version they licensed to these other manufacturers, Microsoft positioned itself to become the dominant player in the operating system market. As the personal computer revolution truly took off, it wasn't just about that initial $50,000 from IBM.
Right.
It was about securing their position as the fundamental software layer for a vast and growing ecosystem. Think of it, they owned the essential software that made all those compatible computers work.
Absolutely. The press quickly recognized the immense influence this gave Microsoft. It really makes you wonder at that early stage, did Gates fully grasp the long-term implications of that copyright decision?
While we can't know for sure what was going through his mind at every step, His actions certainly strongly suggest a clear vision and a remarkably shrewd understanding of the evolving market dynamics.
Yeah.
That decision to retain the copyright was incredibly forward-thinking.
Right.
And proved to be the foundation of their future dominance.
Absolutely. And then came Windows.
Okay.
Microsoft launched the first retail version in November 1985, directly aiming to compete with the user-friendly graphical interface of Apple's Macintosh. That was a significant shift towards making computers more visually intuitive for the average user.
It was a necessary and strategic evolution.
Yeah.
The graphical user interface, or GUI, think of it as interacting with your computer using pictures and a mouse instead of typing in commands, was rapidly gaining popularity, and Microsoft needed to adapt to remain competitive in the personal computing landscape.
Yeah.
While the early versions of Windows might not have been as polished as the Macintosh operating system, it was a crucial first step in that direction, democratizing computing for a wider audience.
Yeah. They also entered into a partnership with IBM in 1986 to develop OS/2, but that collaboration ultimately dissolved.
Okay.
It sounds like there were fundamental disagreements about the future direction of operating systems.
Exactly. Creative differences and ultimately competing strategic priorities led to the fracturing of that once promising partnership.
Yeah.
It really highlights the complexities and challenges inherent in major collaborations, especially in a rapidly evolving technological landscape where different companies might have very different visions for the future.
Absolutely. Gates stepped down as Microsoft CEO in January of 2000, a monumental transition for the company and for him personally. He then stepped down as chairman in 2014, taking on the role of technology advisor. And finally, in March 2020, he left his board positions at both Microsoft and Berkshire Hathaway to dedicate himself more fully to his philanthropic endeavors. That marks a really significant shift.
It signifies a major turning point in his career trajectory. While he remained connected to Microsoft as an advisor for a period, his primary energies and focus shifted toward addressing pressing global challenges through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's a remarkable transition from leading a tech giant to tackling global health and development issues on a massive scale.
Let's delve a bit into his management style. During those intense Microsoft years, apparently while he was deeply involved in software development in the early days, he transitioned into those more traditional management and executive roles as the company grew exponentially. Well, we've already touched on him personally reviewing code. I mean, that level of detail is quite something.
That hands-on approach in the formative years likely had a significant impact on the quality and overall direction of Microsoft's initial product offerings. As the company scaled dramatically. That level of direct involvement naturally became unsustainable, but his deep technical understanding and his sharp analytical mind remain key components of his leadership style.
Absolutely. In the late 1990s, Microsoft faced significant criticism and legal challenges regarding business tactics that were deemed anti-competitive, even resulting in court rulings against the company. That's a really important and sometimes controversial aspect of his legacy at Microsoft.
It's a complex and crucial aspect of his business career. While those aggressive strategies undoubtedly contributed significantly to Microsoft's rise to dominance in the software market, they also drew intense scrutiny from regulatory bodies and raised important questions about the principles of fair competition within the industry. It's a reminder that success in business can sometimes come with ethical and competitive considerations.
Absolutely. He began to transition out of the day-to-day operations of Microsoft around 2008, dividing his responsibilities between other key executives. That must have been a strategic move not only for the company's future, but also in preparation for his eventual shift towards philanthropy.
It was indeed a gradual and strategic process, allowing for a smoother handover of leadership responsibilities to others within the company, while also providing a clear signal of his evolving focus towards his growing philanthropic interests.
Right now in his post-Microsoft chapter, he's been incredibly active, focusing heavily on philanthropy and a diverse range of other projects. While he served as a technology advisor for a time, his concerns have broadened significantly to encompass critical global issues like climate change, artificial superintelligence, and pandemic preparedness. That's a remarkable expansion of focus.
It reflects a mind that remains deeply engaged with some of the most significant challenges facing humanity in the 21st century. He's leveraging his considerable resources, influence, and intellectual capacity to try and contribute to finding solutions in these vitally important areas.
He made a rather candid admission in 2019. Stating that losing the mobile operating system race to Google's Android was his biggest mistake. That's a pretty revealing statement from someone who has achieved so much success in the tech world.
It demonstrates a level of self-awareness and a willingness to reflect on past missteps. Even for someone who has reached such heights of achievement, the mobile market is, of course, enormous, and missing out on establishing a dominant position in that space undoubtedly had significant long-term implications for Microsoft.
Absolutely. He also joined the advisory board of the Bloomberg New Economy Forum in 2019, further solidifying his role as a global thought leader on a wide range of economic and technological issues. And then came that significant step in March 2020, fully stepping down from the Microsoft and Berkshire Hathaway boards to dedicate himself primarily to his philanthropic work.
That was the definitive moment that marked the beginning of his truly post-Microsoft era, with his philanthropic endeavors taking center stage as his primary occupation.
There was also that report in the Wall Street Journal in May 2021 concerning his stepping down from the Microsoft board before they concluded an investigation into an alleged inappropriate relationship. That's a more sensitive and controversial aspect surrounding his departure from the company's leadership.
It's important to acknowledge these reports as part of the comprehensive picture of his life and career as they contribute to the broader narrative surrounding his actions and decisions.
Absolutely. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, Bill Gates became a frequently cited expert by various media outlets, even though his background is not in medicine. That certainly generated a lot of public discussion and debate.
His extensive involvement in global health initiatives through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation positioned him as someone with a deep understanding of infectious diseases and pandemic preparedness, even without formal medical training. His foundation's rapid establishment of the COVID-19 Therapeutics Accelerator underscores their proactive and significant role in addressing the global health crisis. And his reported frequent collaborations with figures like Anthony Fauci also highlight his involvement in pandemic-related discussions and strategies.
Let's shift gears now and talk about his various business ventures and investments outside of Microsoft. It sounds like he has built an incredibly diverse and multi-billion-dollar portfolio across a wide range of sectors.
Indeed. Through entities like Cascade Investment, Benbor, formerly known as Corbis, TerraPower, Gates Ventures, and Breakthrough Energy. His investment portfolio spans a remarkably broad spectrum. His significant stakes in established companies like AutoNation, Canadian National Railway, and Ecolab demonstrate the breadth of his long-term financial interests.
And here's a fact that often surprises people. He is reportedly the largest private owner of farmland in the United States.
Really?
With substantial holdings spread across 19 states.
That's impressive.
That's quite a departure from the world of software.
It is. His substantial land holdings represent a significant long-term investment and perhaps also reflect an interest in agriculture, food production, and land management. It's certainly a diversification of assets beyond the technology sector.
Absolutely. He's also made strategic investments in some really cutting-edge and future-focused companies in areas such as carbon capture technology with carbon engineering, live satellite video through Earth. Now, plant-based meat alternatives with Impossible Foods. And even in biotech and artificial intelligence acceleration.
Wow.
It's like he's placing bets on the next wave of transformative technologies across multiple domains.
It clearly demonstrates a continued deep interest in innovation.
Right.
And a willingness to invest significant capital in potentially transformative technologies across a diverse range of scientific and industrial fields.
Climate change and access to reliable energy have become increasingly prominent areas of focus for him in recent years. He views these as absolutely critical and interconnected global challenges.
Absolutely. He has emerged as a strong advocate for significantly increased investment in clean and reliable energy research and development.